welcome Tammy Taylor.
Thank you so much, Roberta. Thank you, everybody, for coming here. I'm so glad that you're here. This is a home for me. This is like a second home for me, and I always get something when I am here. Not only your warmth and your welcome, but I can show you. I work in those schools with young girls who suffer from mama drama trauma. It's a condition that I basically discovered and named. It's a planetary disorder, but it's a condition in which the mother, who is under a emotional traumatic situation herself, she has refused to heal herself. She's unwilling, unable, or just unavailable to heal her own trauma, and she projects this onto her children, causing emotional or physical trauma. Now, this is pretty normal. And I'm discovering in my work that it's something that we all respond to very differently. In many cases, it's a very typical condition. You know, everybody can relate to some type of mama drama. You know, when you think of mama drama, what are some things that you think of right off the top of your head?
Screaming.
Screaming. What else comes to mind?
Criticizing.
Criticizing. You know, being overly critical, or you're just not feeling safe, and you're not being minimized. You know, you're not enough. You're unworthy. All of us have lived long enough to know how important health is. And throughout this experience, I've really learned that this impacts our health. And we tend to recognize it when we get around our mid-30s, our mid-40s, the impact of this particular disorder on us, that we've internalized all of this emotional trauma. And it tends to manifest energetically, you know, because the body can hold trauma just for so long. And what I do is I use the chakras in order to identify it in both my personal and professional experience. It's an ongoing life journey. And some of the things that you learn as you become aware of your own mama drama trauma is that there needs to be just some time for you to yourself, which I call loving detachment. It is permission that you give to yourself to have a me time vacation away from the mama, the drama, and the trauma. This has come to me, this awareness, over a period of my lifetime, that this is something that I suffer from. And so in the work that I've been doing since the last time I was here, which has been, it'll be 2 years in June 2013. Frank's bringing the pictures back of the young girls that I've worked with. As a life coach working with adults with this particular condition, I found that I needed to write some literature. People needed to have more of a background. And so this past August, I, along with 59 other authors, did this collaborative book called Transform Your Life. And all of the authors in here are in some type of healing or life coaches, that sort of thing, where they tell either their own personal stories of transformation or their experiences working with groups or organizations where there was a real impact of transformation. And so my chapter in here is about mama drama trauma. And I give that to my clients who sign up so that they can have a background about the condition. And one of the things I learned in this process is that I needed to have a narrative. All of us have our stories. You know, everybody has a story. And I know that when I've read self-help books, it wasn't very useful for me to always read about somebody's story, quote unquote. You know, I wanted, what's the hypothesis? You know, what's the theory that you're working with? How did it help you? I need the meat. And so when we talk about healing this condition, in my experience, it has been Great Mother who has come through to speak to me and to guide me. Great Mother is an energy, and it's the energy that we know as proton, as the electron. You know, it is the electron energy. It is the the energy in the cosmos that receives. That is the energy that is just our sense of being. It is our soul self. And it is also an energy that is able to conceive for us. And so it's a constant creative process. And Great Mother has been really instrumental, like I said, since the very beginning of my lifetime. But I said, let me use a narrative that everybody can relate to. And I prayed about that, and what came to me was Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz has mama drama trauma. And how I knew that, as soon as it came to me to use her, I had a resistance because I was like, wait a second. I'm from Kansas. I've always had a really positive outlook about Dorothy, no matter where I was in the world. And I said I was from Kansas. People said, oh, Wizard of Oz. And it was such a great thing. And now I'm dealing with all this deep healing stuff. And Great Mother says, Dorothy, Wizard of Oz. And I'm like, okay, I'm really not relating to this story, okay? But if you remember the very last scene when Dorothy comes home from her long journey and how happy she is, and she's telling Aunt Em that there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Toto is with her. Remember, they're back home. What made them leave in the first place? The tornado. But before the tornado, they left the farm because Miss Gulch was going to take Toto.
Oh, yeah.
She was going to take Toto. And the reason she got caught in the twister and couldn't get with Aunt Em in the cellar underground is because she had already run away. She had already started her journey of loving detachment because she had established a boundary. And that's one of the things I teach my clients. In asserting that loving detachment, giving yourself the me-time vacation, you have to establish a boundary. And that's what Dorothy did. When Toto came back from Miss Gulch's picnic basket and ran out of that bicycle and came back to Dorothy, she swooped him up and there they went. So, Mama Drama Trauma has to do with establishing a boundary where you know, I am worthy of what is good for me in my life. Other thing that I knew, that Dorothy was an orphan. Aunt Em and Uncle Henry were taking care of her. Where was this mysterious mother? Well, just like the scene closed with her and Toto being back home, she didn't seem to be concerned anymore about Miss Gulch, did she? It didn't show us whether or not Miss Gulch was still there or not to come back and get Toto. But she wasn't concerned because something had shifted in her. Her perspective about being there and feeling safe and knowing that she was worthy had changed in the course of her journey. But in the beginning, Miss Gulch didn't come just the first time to take Toto from the farm. She appeared in the very first scene, but she was invisible. Remember, they were running down that dirt road? And Dorothy picked up Toto, and she said, did she hurt you, Toto? Did she hurt you? That's the very first thing. The movie opens up with her on the dirt road with Toto, and they're running back to the farm, and she's telling Aunt Em, Miss Gulch is trying to get Toto. Miss Gulch, remember that? She was running away from this mysterious birth mother. So throughout the work, I use this narrative because it has a lot of symbolism, and that is how this energy of Great Mother speaks to us. She speaks to us through symbols. She speaks to us through our assertions and our knowing. You know, people who suffer from chronic physical and emotional pain have a lot in common. And some of those things that we have in common is that there's a bias. There's a bias that if over a period of time you've absorbed these perceptions about you, that you're unworthy, that you don't deserve to have a good life, that for whatever reason the mother was unable to care for you. They may be very legitimate. The mother may have just had to work all day to provide a physical life, like Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. They didn't have time to listen to Dorothy. She was as cute as a button, had her blue and white gingham dress on. She was physically well taken care of, but emotionally they had no time for her complaints about Miss Gulch. She could be addicted to some type of drugs herself and suffering the cycle of Mama Drama Trauma herself. She could be caring for a loved one, a parent, or someone that needs her help, or another child that has greater needs than you. She could be dead. There are many, many people with Mama Drama Trauma. Oprah Winfrey, Richard Pryor, Rosie O'Donnell, Jane Fonda, Jane Roberts, the author of Seth Speaks. The list goes on and on and on and on. If you go to the website mamadramatrauma.com and download the free ebook, you'll see a 2-page list that I just had to stop. Janis Joplin. And we can see throughout that Steve McQueen. Half of them resolve the issue and move forward. We talk about the Oprah Winfreys and the Jane Fondas of the world, the Rosie O'Donnells of the world. And the other half, Richard Pryor, there's a comedian Lou Nell on there, Tracy Morgan on there. He overcame, all of them have addictions and excessive behaviors. And about half of them overcome it. And the other half are completely consumed by them.
James Dean.
James Dean. Hate to add him to the list. It just got to me, it's just an ebook to give you some example. But like I said, it's a very typical condition. So what we do in the healing work with Great Mother is we get into that energy. Great Mother, who is she? Well, first let's look at what is a mother. In the classic mythological definitions of mother, and also in classic psychology and anthropology, we have a mother who is good, a mother who is terrible, and a mother who is great. A good mother sacrifices her life to give birth to a child and or to raise them. She may not necessarily raise the child, but she gives her life to nurture that life coming forward into the world. A terrible mother may sacrifice her energy to give birth to a child, but she resents it. And she may or may not raise the child. She resents having given that life energy, that source, that spirit to another life. And in classical mythology, she's called the devouring mother. Okay, she wants to sacrifice the child to get what she wants. And so we see this in situations where we have stage moms who are just a little bit too enthusiastic. The terrible mother and the good mother have the child for the child to fulfill their hopes, aspirations, and desires. And that's when we get into the Great Mother coming through the cosmos as the moon cycle. There are 8 phases of the moon. And since the beginning of time, the Great Mother has been associated with the moon because of the energy of moods that we could tell would happen when there wasn't electricity, lights, and all these distractions. We just had each other in nature. And we could see how in our groups of survival, our tribes, so closely related and living together, how the moon changed us. That lunar cycle impacted us. And women were the basis of the family. The first family was matrilineal. And the music that I was playing is from a matrilineal tribe in East Africa that I had no idea when I was 19 there working volunteer that I was being actually inducted by Great Mother into a matrilineal understanding of the earth, of regrounding. I was insecure from a very loving birth mother who worked very hard for me to have every privilege and opportunity many children with a mother and father didn't have. I was in Africa at 19. She was a great physical provider with a very high standard. And that made me insecure because I wanted this, and this meant something else to her. Her hopes and aspirations for me going to Africa was a badge for the family. We're a proud African family. This is what we do to educate our children. For me, it was a soul journey to discover the world, not just my family, my tribe. So what Great Mother does is she helps us to understand the difference between our ego story, Dorothy's Mama Drama Trauma story that starts at the farm, and then it goes into the Technicolor land of Munchkin land, where she has to stand on her own 2 feet and begin walking that yellow brick road. And then back into the black and white world of accepting her situation and loving her situation. And so she helps us understand there's a difference between the story and your soul journey. This is how we see duality. Great Mother helps us understand duality. Great Mother perfectly balances masculine and feminine energy. So the feminine energy of the moon, the emotion, of the receiver, of the nurturer, of the loving, is balanced with the masculine active energy. The energy that has to go out and manifest energy. The energy that has to go out and assert itself. That's the masculine energy of spirit. It's all spirit. And so ego is no less spirit than soul. It's all spirit. They have 2 different functions. The soul comes from the spirit that has masculine and feminine energy. It is a individualized expression of spirit. Soul is an individuated expression, welcome, of spirit. And this individuated expression separates from itself to get to know itself. If we don't separate from spirit, we just stay in spirit. So it separates, and we learn about ourselves through an ego experience. So soul descends into the root earth mother, and people with mama drama trauma tend to have a very complex relationship with not just our birth mother, but with the earth mother. We pollute her. We deny that there's oil in the Gulf, and we can smell it. And we can see pharmaceutical needles in the water. Ain't nothing. The sun burning and feel the plastic on your skin, that ain't nothing. It's okay. They're exaggerating. We have a very complex relationship with Mother Earth because of the anger and the rage that we carry about not feeling safe and protected. And Great Mother is consistently wanting us through her meeting us where our rage is, our emotion, through the weather. And she's meeting us more and more as our rage rises higher and higher. Isis, an Egyptian goddess of children, is the name of the foremost terrorist group on the planet. She's meeting us where our rage is. And so the opportunity is to look at the story of terrorism and say, that is a terrible thing. That is an ego story. That is a story where soul incarnates in ego form to have an evolutionary experience. And so soul chooses, in pre-incarnation, it chooses its body, its mother. And in MDT, the soul that chooses to be your mother, it's the soul that you've probably known for many lifetimes. It loves you very much. It knows what you're signing up for. And what we sign up for, those of us who have mama drama trauma, is to learn 2 important lessons. It's taken me 5 lifetimes to learn. This is my 5th lifetime that I know of that I've had mama drama trauma. It's not an overnight healing, for most that I've encountered. We sign up to learn self-love and spiritual independence. Self-love and spiritual independence. We are forced to stand on our own. Oprah Winfrey, Jane Fonda, people who heal from this.
I don't think that's real stable, and it's making me nervous. I don't want you to get hurt.
I think it's stable. I can feel it. I can feel it. Yeah, I'm fine. I can feel it. But thank you. Yeah, we are forced to be independent. And to be able to measure things for ourselves. Before I was talking about, how people with chronic physical pain and emotional pain, we're kind of seen as weak. Why don't you just get over it? Or we have this blame syndrome, where people are like, well, it probably wasn't your mother. I know your mother. She worked hard for you. You have apple of her eye. What are you talking about? There's something wrong with you, that kind of thing. And not understanding that sometimes we can't go to social things or we can't always be with people because we are nursing ourselves. And that's what the goddess Isis, that archetype, comes through to work with us in. So the book that I'm writing now has the narrative of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, taking her journey of love and detachment. There are a lot of symbols along that journey, which I've shared with you. Of course, the ruby red slippers, the root chakra. Red, the root chakra. And she had to stand in those shoes, on her own for that journey. And that's not all she had. She had the farm hands who were there with her when she ran home to Aunt Em, who were also Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Lion. Soul family. They incarnated together for the journey. And again, we know that by the last scene in black and white, where they return when she realizes that there's no place like home. Yep, we were with you. We were with you. Back in heaven. Yes, we were with you. So that narrative works really well because of the symbolism that's in it. Of course, the yellow brick road, when you stand on your own, what do you got to go by if you haven't developed your intuition? And we're accused of being hypersensitive, and that's compounded And we have to be hypersensitive because we have to be able to read what? Mama's mood today.
Or this hour.
Or this hour. Yeah. What's she gonna do? How am I gonna be safe? Is she gonna love me if I do this?
Oh, I was gonna say, I also love the musical version, The Wiz.
Oh yeah.
It's a reincarnation of it, but it's told by, in a totally different situation. Still, there's home, but then she gets lost in the subways and meets all these different, like, people that scare her and people that want to take her and kill her, but she has these guys around her.
It works for every culture. We could put that narrative down in Cambodia it would work, in Mexico it would work, and so that is what Great Mother brought through to me. And so Great Mother is that balance that shows us so we can transcend, Randy, and we can see, yeah, that may be the story of Dorothy in Kansas, but it's also the story of, I think her name was, I don't know, Lola in New York, who was well, her name was Dorothy too, but we can see that. We can see above what's going on. The yellow brick road is our gut chakra, yellow. And that's what we have to go on. And the gut chakra, we can always stay in touch with that by basically, in any situation, or we hear something, or we're asked about something, that very first, Is it a or Right away. Right away. No second guessing. Is it or is it a but I need more information? That's the gut chakra. And that's what Dorothy was when she came to the crossroads and didn't know which way to go. And who came up? Scarecrow. Well, some people go that way. A lot of people go that way. But they do just as well going that way. So whatever way we go, we are cared for, we are protected, we are nurtured by Great Mother, as we saw in Glinda, the Good Witch. You know, symbolized through Glinda, the Good Witch, who was there for Dorothy to give her the shoes, was there for Dorothy when they got stuck in the poppy field. The poppy field represented what? Our addictions. That list I mentioned, all of them have had some addictions, haven't they? We talk about Rosie and Oprah being great examples, and Jane Fonda. Well, we got alcoholism, we got food addiction. You know, Steve McQueen was a very addictive personality, very controlling, they said, in Hollywood. A very jealous type of star who wanted to control everything on the set. That produced some beautiful movies. And so there's a light side and there's a dark side. The light being the father energy of the son, and the dark shadow side being the mother energy. And so we learn to love that mother energy, because when does the Wicked Witch come up? Again, Miss Gulch transforms to the Wicked Witch who wants those shoes. She wants Dorothy's birthright. And our root chakra is where we come through from the mother. We tend to think of the mother as the sacral chakra, as the procreative area. And yes, we are there for that 9-month moon cycle. But we enter the world through the root chakra. And that's where we're grounded. And if we're very, very fortunate in our soul contract and we're able to move immediately from a very grounded and solid root chakra, and that reinforces our creativity and encourages it, and that reinforces our self-esteem, our gut chakra, we don't have to second guess ourselves so much, then we can live from our heart space more easily. We can live from that space that says, I'm not trying to resolve anything, I'm okay, and really mean it, and just experience life. But it took Dorothy a journey to get there. The addictions in the poppy field. She plumped down and fell asleep, didn't she? Emerald City was right there. Oz was right there. There's Emerald City. Let's go. They started running. And slowly what? The addiction got them. Yeah. They fell down in that poppy field. Toto went to sleep too. And Toto is her spirit familiar.
But sleep isn't something you have to have.
You do need sleep in the journey. You absolutely do. However, when it is the Wicked Witch who casts a spell of a poisonous potion, it is not going to do you good. It is the kind of sleep that is going to program you to go back on the choices that you made, to question your gut, to question who you are again, and to redouble the unworthiness, okay, to send you back. And so that's what she did. She poisoned the field. But she had her soul family. And the people who will come with us and help us along our journey are the most unlikely characters, aren't they?
So that means that the Emerald City would be the heart chakra.
Absolutely. Emerald green, Emerald City. The heart chakra, absolutely. Yes. And our unlikely companions that are traveling with us help us so much. I mean, Frank, my life partner who I met here in Florida, who has just been completely supportive of my journey the same way the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion. I mean, just completely there to support me. Unlikely, I wasn't raised to be with someone like Frank. I was raised to fit in this box and be this way and be mad at white people. You know. But I found a home here, loving support from Roberta and Frank here at UUC every step of the way, sharing my story and getting so much love back. Unlikely, opening that heart, that's right, Emerald City, to welcome it in whatever form Great Mother sends us help. But sometimes we gotta cry for help like the Tin Man. Help! Help! Somebody help us, remember that? You know, they didn't go to sleep. The Tin Man and the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the heart, okay, that Emerald City, and the Scarecrow, no brain. They knew enough not to go to sleep, and they just started crying for help. And that's when Glinda the Good Witch came, and she took the spell away. And that's happened many times on this journey with Frank, many times, when that spell of the holidays coming, and me practicing loving detachment from my mother, or me going through something with my goddaughter. I don't have physical children I've birthed, but I have godchildren, and they bring up these issues. And I don't know what to do. I've done something wrong. I've repeated something that my mother did, and I feel terrible. And it can take me back, like that poison in the poppy field, that addiction to how I learned how to relate to myself. I learned that, and unlearning it, having friends with you. So that's a little bit about the book I'm working on now, which will be out by Mother's Day, called Mama Drama Trauma, How to Forgive and Stop Living It. I wanted to interact a little bit with you after
Ask
sharing
you a
that.
question about your book, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, have it available in any kind of audio format? Like where you could download it from the Talking Book Library or something?
You know, I am going to, I don't know what the date will be for that. Hopefully it will be at the same time that the book is available, but if not, it will be within a month or so. I would say the book will be out in May, and by August, the audio should be available. Okay, with the book, there are Great Mother Speaks Oracle cards. These are the companion cards, and I'll tell you what, on the back of the cards, these were completely channeled. Just like when I prayed and I said, now Great Mother, you've given me all this great information, but people don't want to hear my story because I know I don't like to hear people's story. And she works with us where we are. She thinks we're great. We don't have to explain anything to Great Mother. All we have to do is just say it. And she's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's right. You don't like to hear people's stories, so why don't you use Dorothy's? Everybody knows that. And then I said, well, Great Mother, people are just going to be reading this. What can be something that they can use and actually feel what's going on in their own chakras? I can talk about mine or talk about what's going on with Dorothy, but people have their own issues. Some people are starting with the second chakra. Some people are starting at Emerald City. Some people are starting with the inner eye, which is when they come back with the broom. And Toto lifts the curtain and reveals the truth, the inner eye. That's sixth chakra. This is the cover of the book.
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is that 8th cycle, moon cycle I told you about, and the power of the Great Mother and the Great Father here, balanced. Because what happens with those of us with MDT is that we have an energetic imbalance as a result of this experience. We either have too much yin, we are too submissive, we're too giving, we're too nurturing, to the point where we don't nurture ourselves. The feminine is out of balance. Or we tend to be too masculine. We tend to be too assertive, too bossy, too demanding of attention. And so what this card deck does is it helps us come into balance with that, going through the 8 cycles of the moon. And I can just give you a quick diagram of how this works. Please try not to be overwhelmed, because this is also the outline for my book. So this is just a chart. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you so you can have a kind of an idea. Now, this chart is by chakra. And as you see on this side, over here, this is the root chakra, which is red. Oh, thank you. This is the root chakra, which is red. Thanks, Frank. And these are the goddesses that come through. Now, why gods and goddesses? Because we relate to archetypes. Dorothy is an archetype. And so archetypes are energy, and they're variant energies of the Great Mother. Remember, the Great Mother is perfectly balanced in her yin-yang energies, just as the Great Father. The Great Father is perfectly balanced in his yin-yang energies. Frank went surfing this morning, and last night cooked a beautiful prime rib dinner. I mean, just balanced in those energies you can do. And we know many people who are like that. Now, for each of the different chakras, there's a different goddess. And as you can see, there's some gods here, even Moses. Now, the cards are exactly this. That's why I'm showing you that. There are 7 cards in this one, and you have the symbol of the masculine in the first chakra, because remember, soul incarnates. So even though soul is feminine in nature, when it activates to become a physical human being, that's masculine. That's a masculine act. And so root chakra, human being, is symbol that. And so these are different symbols. Too much feminine in second chakra. So in this chakra, the cards deal with balancing that energy if it's too feminine. The third chakra deals with balancing the energy if it's too masculine. The fourth chakra deals with the feminine aspect, the healthy feminine aspect. Dorothy being able to receive the help from her mates. Dorothy being able to get into Emerald City and ask and assert for what she wants. That kind of thing. And then the fifth chakra is when they actually go to the witch's castle. And she is having to balance that feminine and masculine energy and hold on to her birthright, which are those shoes, and accept help again. This is a process of love and detachment in which you will find you are having to accept a lot of love and help, which has been the hardest thing for me and my clients. It's very difficult to do outside of the confines of who you think should help you. It's very hard for many people to get over the fact that they can't rely on their mother to be who they want their mother to be. And I always define the journey of love and detachment as grieving the mother that you want so you can accept the one you have. It's grieving the mother you want. You have to grieve it. She's who she is. And accept the one you have. Because when you do that, you're able to go back to Oz and give him what he demanded for your worthiness. He said that. He said, I'm going to give you what you want, but you're going to have to prove your what? Worthiness. By bringing me back the witch's broom. So that's what Great Mother demands too. That's that masculine energy of Great Mother. The Oz represents the masculine energy of Great Mother. You're going to have to, I'm not saying you're not worthy, but you're going to have to prove it to yourself that you can take that power from your mother to control you. That's what the broom represents for witches. It is that masculine power. It is the phallic symbol of the witch to be able to activate spells. That's what it represents, to be able to fly. Okay? So she has to do that for herself. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to take the power back ourselves. As Carolyn May says, we have to take our power back. And the seventh chakra is her, of course, being that in Kansas. So that's a brief overview, thank you Frank, of the cards. And there are 49 of them, 7 for each chakra. Now, just so you'll know, they're in black and white too, with the different phases of the moon. And the actual symbols represent, in the book, the different chapters. So let me just tell you about the chapters, so this will all come together for you. Notice how we go through the chakras. Well, those are chapters. So chapter 1 is chakra 1. Chapter 2 is chakra 2, and so on and so forth. They have a title that goes with the acronym ASPIRE. Now, aspire is what we aspire to do. What are we aspiring to do? To grieve the mother we want. In order to what? Accept the one we have. That's an aspiration. And as I stated in my own personal experience, it has taken 5 lifetimes to do.
Is this a garden?
Garden group? No, it's not. I didn't know whether or not they know where to tell you. Okay. Okay, so A stands for acknowledge. We have to first acknowledge that we have mama drama trauma. The second step is self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is when we go to Professor Marvel. Remember when she leaves and takes Toto, and the first time she runs away and she runs into Professor Marvel? He's the head consultant of the Crowns of State of Europe, and he looks into the crystal ball. Well, she lets him tell her who she is and what she needs to be. And so she's out of balance with that. But if she would have just asked herself, is it true that I'm leaving home because people don't understand me? This is what he's telling her. You're leaving home because people don't understand you. Oh no, you're leaving home because you want to go far, far away. And yeah, on the surface maybe, but she doesn't question anything that she's being told. And we have to do that when we're in the second chakra. Too much feminine, out of balance. We have to question what people are telling us. Then the third one, ASP, is processing. We process the answers that we get from that self-inquiry. We process that. And as you see here, the moon cycle is the third quarter moon that we have here. It's a half moon. And all of them, in this one particularly, they have a law. And so when you process what you learn from your own self-inquiry, you are able to then come up with your own conclusions about what it is that you want and what it is that you need. Because she listened to Professor Marvel, she ran back home to Aunt Em, and that's when she got caught in the storm. Now, there's no judgment whether that's good or bad, but she didn't stay on her journey, and we can tell that Great Mother was going to make sure she stayed on it. She did not get back to Aunt Em. She went to Munchkin Land, and on the yellow brick road of love and detachment is where she went. So we have to stay true to our journey, because it's going to stay true to us. I know that from experience. Integrity. Now, integrity is that fourth chakra, being true to our hearts. Even though nobody else likes Toto, you know, that's what I need. And then resurrection is when we come back from the witch trying to kill us. And in fact, she ended up killing the witch unintentionally. You know, she threw the water because she was trying to burn Scarecrow with her broom. And she threw the water to put out the fire and inadvertently did kill the witch. And ultimately, you're emancipated because you are able to lay to rest that grieving and move forward. And so, thanks to the Mother, Father, God, that is a stage in my life at this time. So, what I would like is to give you a little taste of this for yourselves. And I'm praying over the cards, and I'm just going to just do a general reading, and we can see where we can go from there, okay? And the general reading that I want to do is something that we can all kind of relate to with our mothers. And so I just want to kind of quickly go around the room, and just from your heart, you know, what is something that you would want Great Mother to share with you right now that you need to know about fill in the blank. Do you want to say it out loud, or do you want me to just do the reading and and then you decide? Everybody's different about these. Let's do a vote. You want to go around the room and people say what it is they want to know, and then we can all kind of look at what she says, or you want to keep it close to your pocket and then do the reading?
I think this is a close to the pocket group.
Okay? All
I
right.
agree.
All right, close to the pocket group. Okay, so let me put this down and okay, so Great Mother, Father God, we are praying to have insight and wisdom about the question that we are presenting to you. We want you to give us guidance, and we want you to give us the insight that we need now for our highest good and for the highest good of all those who love us. Amen. Pick out one card. Tell us how to approach the situation. Pull out another card. Tell us how the energy will shift or needs to shift. And the third card, something we may be overlooking in the situation that should be considered. There are a lot of different spreads, but how to approach this particular situation that you asked about, Sophia comes up. Sophia, she is the Jewish, the Hebrew goddess of wisdom and trusting your inner voice. As you can see, there's the heart. You can see with your inner eye, your heart, and you can feel that. And that's the new moon. And so the new moon represents new beginnings, starting something fresh, planting season for many people. So approach the situation with your own heart wisdom, with a newness and a freshness. Shift the energy with Gildeptis. Great Mother is saying that she wants you to know that Gildeptis is the Native American goddess of synthesis and the synthesis of nature, of the wind and the air rustling the leaves, of the sun and the dew blooming the bud. The goddess of synthesis is how we should shift the energy of whatever question that you ask for. That means that whatever lessons you've learned related to your inquiry, it is now time to integrate those lessons. You don't quite know where to put this new information that you have gotten from a period of time, maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, maybe recently. Some new ideas, some new understandings have come up. She said it's time to integrate those in this situation. Move forward with that. And the symbol you see here is the third eye. Okay, the sixth chakra. That's inner vision.
And the eye of Horus.
And the eye of Horus, who's one of the gods represented in the deck, absolutely, and represented here with the eye of Horus. Trust that. And Horus being where we got the word hours from. So it is time to integrate that knowledge. Don't forget to process it all. When you integrate new information, sometimes we're afraid to change and to integrate something new because we forget the important step of taking time to process it. What is it going to mean for you? What is it going to mean for the situation? And just sit with it. Don't make any decisions, but just process it. That's a very important step. And we see here that we have the symbol of the two masculines. And so processing balances that. I need to act now. I need to do something now. Do. The mother energy of being the physical provider and focusing so much on that the emotional is left out. Again, no fault, no judgment, but recognizing these things must be processed. And when they're brought up, must be dealt with, or we will have an imbalance. And we're here to balance ourselves, and so we will, and Great Mother will help us do that. So in summary, trusting your heart wisdom with this situation, you know what to do. Because you are synthesizing information that you already have. Don't forget to process it. so that you honor that you've done this for yourself in answer to what it is you need. Okay. So that's what Great Mother had to say about whatever question you had.
A good universal answer.
Yes, and she is a universal energy. She is just like Glinda the Good Witch. Glinda the Good Witch was there 3 times throughout the whole movie. And every time it was for a very specific, yet a very general kind of, and that is the mother, that's the energy of Great Mother. Because we're here to learn self-love. We're here to learn to love ourselves enough to trust ourselves. That's not her job. Her job is to help us to trust our wisdom and to remind us to do that, but that's not her job. Our job is to learn self-love and spiritual independence. And so she's there, she's in us. It's our soul that is crying for integration with our ego that's stuck on a story that we're not capable. And so, yeah, her message is, and it is a very frustrating thing sometimes when you want something really specific. I was wanting that for this talk today, and she was like, the same thing pretty much. Go out there. You've been channeling this information for 2 years. Very frustrating. But exhilarating and totally worth it. So, yeah.
Are you gonna like pull 3 cards if we ask you to pull them out for us?
Yes, absolutely. Let me put these back in the deck.
How many times did you have to watch The Wizard of Oz to pick up all the subtleties?
Oh, how many times, Frank? A dozen? Yeah. Yeah. And this is after a childhood of watching it and doing plays all the time, because it's like Kansas, that was our Hallmark. You know, where Hallmark cards is based, you know, it's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just Kansas, Kansas, Kansas. I still had to, because once I started doing the research for the book, I discovered online there are Wizard of Oz aficionados. It's a whole culture out there. The Dark Side of the Moon with the Pink Floyd album and what that means when you play that with the movie for the first 25 minutes. And I mean, there's a whole culture about, and so I had to be sure. Okay, what question do you have, Randy? You want to do a 3-card?
Yes.
Okay.
Say it out loud? Okay.
Well, it may help me.
Okay. I am at a crossroads in my life, making some changes, a lot, and want guidance and, you know, the ability to understand why people did stuff to me that I'm still harboring inside my soul, like angry almost or upset whenever I think of it.
So your question to her is, how do I need to release anger about this situation? Okay. Okay, beautiful. This is how Great Mother suggests it be approached, how the energy may be best shifted, and what may have been overlooked and needs to be seen now. Okay, in resolving this anger, Jesus comes up. And Jesus is indeed a God, just as we are gods. That's what he came to teach us, that we are sons of God. And whatever you're a son of or a daughter of, that's who you are. And so approach the situation understanding that with grace and with mercy, you are being guided. Your angels, your guides who may be related to this person or this issue that have transitioned, they're working very closely with you to heal this. They're working very closely with whoever you're trying to heal this situation with. The angels of that person, the guides of that person, probably are responsible for you being here today. Jesus is very important here because Jesus talks about compassion and being born again. And so realizing that that is a very real possibility. Oh, the moon here that we have, that is the waning moon, okay? That is the balsamic moon. And that is the phase of the moon before it goes into the new moon. So this is a situation that has really run its course. Okay, how she suggests shifting the energy is by freeing yourself. The emancipation card is the law of ego form and manifestation. Ego form and manifestation. It is actually a law that has to do with soul incarnation, and that being a very important part of soul evolution. And so in shifting this energy of forgiveness, what you want to remember is that you are free. The forgiveness of Jesus Christ, the mercy and the grace of that is very real for you, and to accept that in your heart. Because what we have here is we have the moon that is actually the third quarter moon. And this is the moon where we do forgive, where we do let go. This is the moon before the waning moon. And so the third eye that's here is, there's an inner knowing that you have about it, and you're probably just questioning it to make sure. Is it really true that I can let this go? Is it really true that I've processed this enough? Is it really true that I've forgiven enough? Or do I still need to work on this and work on this? And this is Great Mother coming through and telling you, Randy, you're emancipated, you are free from this. The energy that she is giving are the two feminine symbols with the one masculine symbol. The two feminine symbols really emphasizing that emotional work that you have done. And it's coming back into balance with the masculine here. And so with these two last phases of the moon, the third quarter and the balsamic moon, this is really something that's coming to a close, having to do with you accepting grace and mercy for yourself and the person and personal emancipation. Great Mother doesn't want you to overlook Nefertiti.
She's my favorite that I love reading about, and I love just the way she looked and what she stood for and everything.
Oh, wow. Well, then you're not overlooking Nefertiti. And so she's reminding you. Nefertiti, she's the Egyptian goddess of beauty. She's the wife of Akhenaten. He was the first god, the first ruler on the planet to institute one God rule. That there's only one God. He's our first monolithic God, monotheist king, Akhenaten. And his wife was Nefertiti, and her beauty and wisdom was very instrumental in the people who were able to take on this new belief. It was very difficult after the polytheistic, and they still had a hard time. But at any rate, Randy, don't overlook your own beauty in this. You have shown a lot of grace and mercy already. Nefertiti is known for that. And this archetype of Great Mother comes through very powerfully here with the moon that is the waning gibbous moon. The waning gibbous moon is the moon of sharing, of giving, and as we can see here, we have the throat chakra. And so you've probably been speaking to this person, or you've been hearing some things from this person that you could have reacted to very negatively. You could have been very ugly about. And she's saying, own your beauty. Yes, you did that. You stood in your beauty. Continue to do that. You are free. Continue to do that. Own it. You are being the bigger person perhaps, but it's not a I'm better than person type of thing. It is simply that you're owning yours and this other person is not owning theirs. You're perfectly willing and you're perfectly open to them owning their beauty, but sometimes people aren't able to do that. My mother, she's still stuck in her alcoholism, and I love her, and I grieve, for the woman that I knew. But we all have our own cycles, and we're able to accept our beauty when we're able to accept it. But that doesn't stop us from accepting our own.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody else?
I would.
Okay.
You'll have to describe them to me though.
I will certainly do that. And I'll do that for you if you would please tell me, just as, I can't see. Linda told me
Oh, sorry.
to remember the audio, if you could tell me how this could be something that could be useful for you.
Well-
Thank you.
I feel like I've been waiting for several years to try to find a job and be independent, and my vision has gotten worse. And I was diagnosed diabetic 2 years ago, and my mother comes into this because she wants to help. But some of the ways that she has tried to help me have hindered me more. And I have taken a lot of courage upon myself to talk to her over the holiday and say, look, I appreciate that you care about me, but the help that I need is such and such, not this other way that you've been trying to help me. Because I realize that she's trying to help me, but some of the ways that she tried to do it, it didn't really help. It just made me feel worse. You know, like she was trying to control the situation. So I just come to her and say, but it took a lot of courage to say, I need your help,
Yeah.
but not this way, I need it this other way. So, you know, my mama drama with my mother is that all of her life she has felt guilty, like she caused my blindness. Because we thought she took morning sickness medicine to ruin my eyes, but we just found out recently it was just a genetic birth defect, and it was not that. So now she has been able to let go of some of that guilt that she has felt, but I never blamed her for that. But this whole time, she's been trying to make up for that, like, you know, being overprotective with me and stuff. And it's just come out even more in the last few years, even though I live by myself. So I'm trying to get a job. I haven't had a job in years. I've been out of school. And I feel like it's my time to bloom. I'm a very late bloomer, and I'm, you know, but I need her help, but I want it in such a way that I can still be independent and not have her controlling the situation.
Okay. Do you feel that when you, or have you, okay, it sounds like you have shared with her, let me close the door. Oh, it is closed. It's kind of loud.
It's just loud out
Okay, it sounds like you have shared with her how you need her help,
there. Right.
and that she hasn't heard you.
Good.
And you think that she hasn't heard you because
She
of
heard,
guilt.
the first time she tried to help me and I was not clear with her, it was a terrible thing that happened. So I was afraid the holiday would repeat itself, so I took upon myself to talk to her. She did hear me,
Okay.
but I wanted to be more of her hearing me in the future. I don't want it to have to be escalated into another problem before she hears me again.
Okay.
So I need clarification on how to approach the situation with her.
Okay. Okay, great mother. We're asking for clarification about how to best communicate with our said mother here about the assistance that we know that she is able to provide, that she is willing to provide, but that perhaps clearer communication may facilitate. Please give me what I need to know so that I can do so most effectively. Amen. Okay. Great Mother says to you that there is some processing here that needs to take place. So there's a lot of information that you just shared with us about how your communication has been throughout your entire life. There has been some guilt that your mother has had, but there's been some recent information that has completely disclaimed that as any basis for guilt. There has been an attempt for you to engage in a more loving exchange with her, which you've been trying to do your entire life, but she's been unable to hear. And that perhaps this was an opportunity, this new information for her to open up, but she's still attached to that. And sometimes we have habits, and it's just a habit that she has. And so she may need some help from your processing, what you just shared with us, to share that with her. That you have your entire life not held not one thing against her, and that this was a God sent, that this information came, that it wasn't true because you already knew it in your heart. And Mama, will you please realize it? Can you accept it now? Because I need to move forward in my life, and I feel that I can do that if you can move forward with me. So if you share what you've processed with her, this is the way that Great Mother is telling you that this is coming through. In the processing card, we have the law of the Divine Father. And so that has to do with that masculine energy of asserting what you know with love.
Okay.
Okay, actively sharing what you know with love.
Uh-huh. What phase of the moon was that?
This phase of the moon is also, all of these cards with the chapter headings on them are the waning gibbous moon. And yes, that is the moon of sharing.
I happen to like gibbous moon the best.
The half moon? Yeah. Yeah. So that's the sharing. And so
Okay.
share what you've learned, and that's the gut chakra. From your
Right.
gut with love.
I'm excited because I have an opportunity to see her next Thursday, so I can do this fairly soon.
Yes, you can. And you articulated it perfectly, didn't she?
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense what you said. You can share with your mother. You did it with so much love. And she's just saying, shift that energy. And we have another God here, Ra. And that
I
is
love him too. He's the god of the sun. And
yes.
I'm a Leo, so that works.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shift the energy with Ra there. And Ra comes through in the sixth chakra with the inner eye. And so you've had this inner wisdom. You were incarnated with this. This is part of your sacred contract with your mother. That you help her learn how to not take on this guilt and to accept love. Just to accept pure love, which is coming from you. That's inner vision. That's primordial father. The primordial father has no concept of earning love. He knows that he's loved. Like Oz and the Wizard of Oz, he really kind of ruined the situation for Dorothy there. But did he feel guilty and terrible and unworthy? I mean, he went on about his business. And so he did. He said, okay, well, I'll give you a medal, lion, and hearts won't be practical until they won't break, and I'll take you on my hot air balloon to get you home. And
He liked hiding behind that curtain.
yeah. He was having a good time.
Yeah.
So just shift it with a little bit of that primordial father
Okay.
energy. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the third one?
The third one, don't overlook Nefertiti.
Again? Nefertiti.
And I shifted those cards the whole time you were talking.
Yeah.
I did.
That's all right. She came up. She has to be there.
She has to be there for you not to forget to own your beauty.
I don't know that much about her.
Nefertiti, she is the goddess of beauty. And she's the ancient Egyptian goddess who is the wife of Akhenaten. And he was the first pharaoh, the first ruler that we know on the planet who instituted one God worship, that there is only one God.
Right.
And had them tear up a lot of temples in Egypt that were polytheistic. Because he just said that there's Ra. You know, there's just the God of light and of love. And so she comes through here. We have with the disseminating, we have the disseminating waning moon here. And, you know, that's right after the full moon.
Right.
And so this is a moon that's really going into, you know, just kind of a resting kind of a period. And so don't overlook, you know, that here we have the throat chakra, that when you're speaking and that you're sharing all this, don't make it become another project, you know, or something that you have, that you feel that if you don't make it, she's saying, I'm picking up that, you know, you don't feel that you have to get everything right, that your mother is going to sense your beauty as you relax into this primordial father,
Okay.
asserting yourself and all of that. Just be yourself. Just be your
Right.
beautiful self.
Right. Okay.
Just speak the way you speak. Just present yourself the way you
Well,
present
that's
yourself.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. Thank you, everybody, so
Namaste.
much.
It's good to see you again.
It's good to
I
see
saw you last time when you were here. That was a long time ago, but I remembered you the last time I saw you.
I remember you too. This is always such a blessing. I mean, this yellow brick road. It really is.
Now,
Thank
do
you.
you perhaps have cards?
I do.
It would be nice to distribute them.
Okay, I will do that.
Are they black and white?
No, they're not. I haven't gotten that far yet. What type of job are you looking for?
What the heck difference is it?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I want to follow my passion of playing
Yeah.
the piano and getting paid for it.
Well, you caught up on that with the theme and everything.
You know, I never understood that. Why Munchkin Land is in color and the rest of it is in black and white. Was that like saying that she was like dreaming? Because remember they say that she hit her head or something when they try to explain how she woke up when she came back.
Right. She
You
hit her
know-
head in the twister.
You know, I always wonder that because Alice in Wonderland, they did the same thing. She went into this wonderful land of all these different things happening. And there was the drug situation too with the addictions in Alice in Wonderland with the mushrooms and all that. And then when she came back, she fell down this hole, but how did she get out of the hole? She didn't get out of the hole. She was just lying there the whole time and she had just tripped and hit her head. That's what they always say.
You mean, okay, so when she came back to the farm, that's when the twister twisted the house up into the cyclone. And when the house fell down, she was in Munchkin Land. And so the Technicolor Munchkin Land represented her going through the portal that Great Mother opened up for
Right,
her.
but you know how they never really explain when you come back. They, you know, most stories, they do all of this, how you get there, it's on your journey, but you notice at the end, well, they don't tell how long it took to get back to the city or wherever they were going. In the end, they were there. They hit their head and then they were there.
I
and then
got
they-
you. Okay,
And then
because
they've explained all of how to get there in the beginning, but then in the end it was, well, they didn't really journey through they were dreaming and they woke up and they just happened to be there already and they hit their head.
well,
and
that's
just
a good
there.
point. That's a very good point because what that proves and what that shows us is that as soon as we have awareness, as soon as our mind changes, we change our mind about the situation and we're no longer, thank you, that's a great concluding point, because we're no longer stuck in the story.
Oh, I see.
We're out of it.
Oh.
As soon as our perception shifts, as soon as we see the light, as soon as we click those heels 3 times,
Yeah.
body, heart, mind, body, soul. Okay, past, present, future. We're ready to move on.
Yeah, and she
Okay.
got home instantly.
Instant,
right?
it's instant.
Yeah.
It's
I just kind
instantaneous.
of always wondered that. You know, and you know how they have happily ever after and they say that that's the ending of the story? But they should put that at the beginning and then tell how Cinderella got divorced from the guy because he was mean and he didn't love her and then she fell on her own. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, they put the happily ever after at the end, but I'm like, they should put it at the beginning.
Well, we are addicted to stories.
Yeah.
You know, the archetypes, that's why those get involved in the book, is because even Jesus taught in stories. That's how we learn.
Parables?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Into the Woods is the second chapter for those.
Yeah.
those stories.
But were they in a pair? The parables, did they come in a pair? Or are they single pairs?
That's seen into duality, right?
Yeah, they come in pairs, right?
Mm-hmm. They do.
You know?
Eye for an eye, turn the other cheek. It's.
But my favorite was the Wicked Witch from Wicked, where she learns how to be independent and fly on her broom, and she defies gravity, and she turns out to not be wicked because in the end the wizard was the real wicked one, and she actually did the right thing, but everybody thought she was wicked because they had a perception of her that was not true, that she was
That's
telling
the shift in
herself.
perspective.
She was telling herself
Yeah.
that she was wicked because everybody else saw her that way. But she really wasn't, because in the very end of it, she goes off and goes on her way. She actually did the right thing.
That's the soul contract with your mother and with my
Yeah.
mother and all of us that have MDT. She's not evil.
See,
She's not a terrible, devouring mother. In the soul journey, the ego story gets stuck on that one action or that one little thing, and it may seem like our entire lives as a child, but it's just a story. And the whole soul journey is, as you said, not evil at all. She was honoring us to help us learn self-love and spiritual independence.
I guess you could pick any fairy tale. It would work with any of them, wouldn't it?
Just about.
I just finished reading a great book this past week called The Shack.
Oh, yeah, that's a great
It's
book.
unbelievable. It twists I mean, if you go in reading it and thinking this, and then there's all these turns that you're going, wow, they can take any form, they're everywhere. And, you know, the guy learns about coping with his, and I'm not gonna tell if people haven't read it, but it's a good, very soulful book. You look at yourself while you're reading it.
Yeah, I read that twice.
See, what I was sitting here thinking is that the author, to begin with writing the story, my head is trying to grasp the thought that I believe that the author just wrote a story. And I think that the symbolism and whatnot comes out afterwards when we begin to analyze it. I really do think that. I don't think that the story was written, okay, I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna talk about this, I'm gonna talk about this. I think we get it afterwards. I think we look at the symbolism afterwards, and I think there's so many stories that we treat that way. You can take any story and go through this. Star Trek, at the time the Star Trek was written, I do not believe was written that it's a spiritual journey. And yet there is that aspect of Star Trek that comes out afterwards. Afterwards, now, we're looking at it from that standpoint. So what were you gonna say, Bob?
Why don't you think it was written as a spiritual journey?
Well, what I'm saying in the sense of, I think, as an author, I'm gonna write a book, and I start writing the story, and I tell the story. And it's afterwards that we get at, oh, look, this was what was going on, and oh, look at this is what was going on.
Because the soul communicates like Great Mother in symbols. And that's why it's difficult for people who are not experiencing mama drama trauma to connect with Great Mother. We've had to, since childhood, know how to pick up symbols of behavior, of safety, because we've had to, in many ways, take care of our own emotional well-being. So the world appears to us as very symbolic. And that's why many times we are seen as being hypersensitive. Oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, yeah, we are. We see a lot. And so that is how soul communicates. Soul communicates through symbol. Ego picks it up later because ego is stuck in just a story of, you know, this is what happened today, and I'm going to go do this today, and, you know.
Yeah, but.
My experience is that the infinite flows through self and flows out as words. That are hugely better than anything the ego can construct. It flows through us. And then later on, you know, with ego we can kind of look at it this way or that way. But the fact is, when it's flowing, it's much more than ego can do. When it's flowing, it comes from a source other than ego. A Jungian would say self with a big S. Some people would say God. Call it whatever you want. The important thing is to connect to the flow.
Logos.
Yeah, logos.
That's the word, yes.
I thought of something else. We tell our stories, we tell ourselves stories of negativity all the time, but we know that the universe gives what we ask. And if we say we cannot have a job, we are not good enough, or whatever, we cannot do this or have this or whatever, the universe just hears that and it gives us more of not. So if we tell ourselves, like if I tell myself I can be worthy, I can have a job, I can be worthy of playing my music, if I change my story to what I do want, then the universe is going to focus more on that. Sometimes it's really hard to do, especially if you wake up and you're having a really bad day, to tell yourself a new story. But if you're going to be stuck in a story, it might as well be a good one, right?
Well, speaking of that, I just got something from Great Mother for you about your mother and communicating this, what you're processing, is that part of her story has been that she needs to take care of you.
Right.
And that also has been appeasing her guilt. And so part of this processing is really helping her to understand that that story is something that is not serving her, or and it's not serving you any longer.
Right.
And that there is enough love from you and from life to move beyond that story, that is not an accurate story.
Anymore, it's not
Anymore.
accurate anymore.
It never has been to you. But really, Mom, you should see now that it's not, and I'm ready to move forward.
I wonder how I can take care of.
That so long as I can pretend that something I did would have prevented